Hi, I'm Jasmine DeSavany. I'm a UX consultant and designer. I'm passionate about creating engaging, intuitive products that deliver tangible business benefits. I've been designing solutions for brands such as Vodafone, Ericsson, Sky, and small startups for the past 15 years. I have a degree in product design and I'm trained as a user experience specialist. In this training today, I'm going to share with you what UX design is, why it's so important, and how you can implement great UX in your design process. So let's start with the basics. What does UX mean? UX is the process of designing products that are useful, easy to use, and delightful to interact with. UX stands for user experience. It's simply how you feel about every interaction you have with what's in front of you in the moment you're using it. When talking about UX in terms of technology, the term user interface is often used. However, it's important to recognise that despite often being used interchangeably, UX and UI are two different things. UX is focused on the user experience of the product, and UI is focused on how a product's interface looks and functions. So why is UX so important? Did you know users decide in just a few seconds whether your site or app is worth their time? Even if you're lucky enough to entice someone to download your app, more than 75% of apps downloads are only open once and never visited again. When an app is downloaded, engagement is key. UX is so important because it tries to fulfill your customers' needs. If you give your user a positive experience, they reward you with their trust in their business. Great UX design makes your product useful, desirable, credible, and user-friendly, leaving your customers feeling secure, trusting your business. So how do we create a great user experience? It's simple. Put the user at the center of every design decision. Where possible, always try and follow a user-centered design process. UCD is an interactive design process which focuses on the user and their needs in each phase of the design. Throughout the user-centered design process, we involve users via a number of different research and design techniques. This process is split into 4 phases: discovery, design, test, and build. During the discovery stage, the UX designer seeks to understand the problem or challenge they need to solve. To do this, they will firstly ask lots of questions. What is the product? When will it be used? Where will it be used? Why will it be used? How will the product be used? The designer then uses this feedback to identify the user goals, pain points, and behaviours. All of this information helps to empathise with the user. UX isn't just about users' needs, but also the business needs. There's no point in having a product that users love if it doesn't achieve the business goals. Every project has constraints and the designer needs to know what they are so they can innovate around them. What device will the app be on, Android or iOS, or both? The designer needs to know this information so they can follow the best design principles for that device. Is there a budget or time constraints? Does the designer need to follow any brand guidelines? Now you understand the user and business needs and constraints, it's time to move on to the design phase. There are several methods and steps within the design process. Here are just a few. User flows are an effective way to quickly see how things may fit together. They show how a user will flow through your product. Task maps are a great tool to identify the tasks that are needed for a user to get from A to B. Once the user flows and tasks have been determined, the designer now knows what steps the user needs to take to complete their desired tasks. They will then visually brainstorm for each of these steps, creating wireframes and prototypes of what the final product may look like. Now we have some designs, it's time to validate your idea. Prototyping is a vital step in the design process. It helps you focus on the app functionality, user experience by identifying obstacles in the user journey. You can flesh out the details and experience your idea. Is it how you imagined? Is it easy to use? Are your potential customers engaged? Finding solutions to problems early on during the development process will save you time and money. Your idea is validated and the designs are finalised. It's now time to get your app built. Designs will always be interpreted differently by different people. So I'd always recommend providing a functional spec and prototype to the developer to minimise the gap between design and development. A functional spec includes artwork, images, icons, logos, user interface layout, annotations about the interaction behaviour, which is really important to communicate those designs, and also screen flows. You need everyone on your team to empathise for your user. A great way to do this is to get the UX designer to walk the developer through the designs and their decision making. In an ideal world, you have your designers and developers work side by side. Things will change in development due to constraints that weren't identified or scenarios that may have been missed. Having the designer on hand to manage these changes will minimise the impact on your user experience. Now your developer has finished building your app, it's time to test it in a test environment. Never let your app go straight to the App Store without testing it. Is it how you expected? Try and break it so your customers don't. Always test on different devices and screen sizes because this really does impact the user experience of the app. The user-centered design process is a never-ending continual loop. Now your app is live, be an active user of your product so that you can empathise with your user. If you understand your user experience of your product, you are more equipped to identify additional user needs, system bugs, and so on. This is just a broad overview of user experience design. In reality, tasks were very dependent on both the size and the needs of the company. Larger companies may employ a team of designers which each focus on different aspects of the design process, such as research or visual design. In smaller companies and startups, it's not unusual for a UX designer to design an app just using a few steps. Getting a good designer isn't cheap, but if you get your product right before going into production, it will save you money in the long run. Thank you for your time.